Frank spent 38 years saving for one RV. 11 months later, he sold it at a loss that pushed his retirement back 2 years. He's not the exception. He's the 70% of retirees who regret their RV within a year. But it's never the RV, never the price, never bad luck. It's 5 mistakes made before anyone signs. I'm giving you all 5, plus the one nobody admits. The dream they're selling you. Let's start with what's actually happening every time you walk into an RV show or scroll through an RV YouTube channel. Because you need to understand the room you're standing in before you make a decision this big. The recreational vehicle industry is a $40 billion aspiration machine. Every showroom is engineered. The lighting, the scent of new leather and fresh carpet, the way the salesperson lets you sit quietly in the driver's seat and imagine the open road stretching out in front of that windshield. None of that is an accident. That's a sales environment built by people who have watched thousands of retirees walk through those same doors and who know exactly which emotional buttons to press. And what they're selling isn't a vehicle. It's a version of you. The version that wakes up somewhere new every week. The version who finally stopped answering to an alarm clock. The version who sends the grandkids a photo from a canyon overlooking Utah and gets back 3 heart emojis and a "wish we were there." That version is real, by the way. It genuinely exists for some people. I'm not telling you the dream is fake. I'm telling you the dream is incomplete because nobody at that RV show is going to show you the other side of the brochure. They're not going to show you the slide-out mechanism that jams in a campground with 0 cell signal and a 2-week wait for the repair tech. They're not going to show you the couple sitting in silence at 9 at night because there is nowhere in 300 square feet to just be alone for 20 minutes. They're not going to show you the invoice for a transmission repair that lands the same week as the first loan payment. They're going to show you the golden hour drone shot from the cliff edge, because that shot is what sells rigs, not the truth. This isn't a conspiracy. Nobody in this business is twirling a mustache. Dealers need to sell inventory. Manufacturers need to move units. Even a lot of the RV influencer content you've been watching to research this purchase is sponsored, gifted, or built around a brand partnership. None of that makes those people villains. It just means they have every incentive to keep you excited and 0 incentive to keep you informed. That job falls to you. So let's do it properly, starting with the mistake that costs people the most money before they've even left the dealership lot. Mistake number 1. Buying the wrong RV for your actual life. This is the single most common and most expensive mistake in the entire retiree RV market, and it happens because the industry deliberately gets you focused on the wrong question. Walk any RV show floor and every conversation centers on the interior, the cabinetry finish, the theater seating, the residential refrigerator, the bathroom with the tile shower that looks better than the one in your actual house. That's the trap because the interior is furniture, and furniture isn't what determines whether your retirement dream survives contact with reality. What determines that is a much less glamorous question. What kind of RV actually matches how you're going to live in it? There are broadly 5 categories: Class A motorhomes, Class C motorhomes, Class B camper vans, travel trailers, and fifth wheels. And each one is built around a completely different lifestyle. A Class A is a rolling apartment on a commercial chassis. Incredible for full timing, brutal to drive and park if you're not confident behind the wheel of something the length of a school bus. A travel trailer is cheaper, lighter, and you can leave it hooked up at a campsite while you explore in your truck. But you're towing, and towing is its own skill that a lot of first-time retiree buyers dramatically underestimate. A fifth wheel needs a serious truck to pull it and a specialized hitch, but it drives more stable than a bumper pull trailer. A Class C is a middle ground motorhome on a van chassis, easier to handle than a Class A, but smaller inside. And a Class B camper van is nimble enough to park like a regular vehicle, but tiny enough that 2 people living in it full-time will find out things about each other they never wanted to know. Here's where retirees get it wrong. They fall in love with a floor plan at a show, and they buy the RV that matches the fantasy in their head instead of the trip they're actually going to take. A couple who wants 2 long road trips a year and otherwise plans to park at the lake all summer does not need the same rig as a couple planning to live on the road full-time, chasing 40-degree weather across every state line. But the showroom doesn't ask you that question. The showroom asks you which recliner feels better. Mike and Sandra bought a 42-foot diesel pusher because it had the nicest kitchen they'd ever seen in a vehicle. 6 months in, they realized they hated driving it. Sandra wouldn't get behind the wheel at all, which meant every single mile fell on Mike, and Mike was exhausted before they'd even reached their first destination. They'd wanted a lock-and-leave setup where they could park at a campground for 2 weeks and use a smaller vehicle to explore. What they bought was a full-time coach for people who wanted to drive constantly. Beautiful kitchen. Completely wrong tool for the life they actually wanted. The fix here isn't complicated, and it costs nothing but honesty. Before you set foot on a dealer lot, write down exactly how you plan to use this thing, how many nights a year, how far you're driving between stops, who's doing the driving, whether you want a second vehicle for local errands, then match the RV category to that answer, not the other way around. Mistake number 2, the hidden cost iceberg. Almost every retiree budgets for the sticker price. Almost none of them budget for what it actually costs to own and run an RV for a full year. And the gap between those two numbers is where a lot of retirement accounts quietly bleed out. Let's run real numbers on a mid-range $60,000 travel trailer, or Class C, because the used and new markets have both settled into more rational territory this year after the wild pricing of the pandemic era. Insurance for full-time or heavy seasonal RV use runs anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500 a year. And that's assuming you disclose full-time use, because a standard policy, written for occasional recreational use, will straight up deny a claim if you're actually living in it most of the year. A lot of retirees don't find that out until they need it. Storage, if you're not full-timing, runs $50 to $200 a month, depending on your region, whether it's covered and whether you want it climate-controlled. That's another $600 to $2,400 a year just to have somewhere to park the thing when you're not using it. Campground fees at a decent facility with full hookups run $50 to $80 a night nationally, and premium locations near national parks or coastlines can run well past $100. If you're doing 60 nights a year, that's $3,000 to $5,000 before you've bought a single gallon of gas. Maintenance is the number that actually blindsides people, because an RV isn't a house that sits still. It's a structure that gets shaken apart by highway vibration for hundreds or thousands of miles a year. Roof seals need resealing annually, or you get water intrusion, which is the single most expensive kind of RV damage there is. Tires age out around 6 to 7 years, regardless of tread depth, because rubber degrades with sun exposure, whether you're driving or not. Slide-out mechanisms, water heaters, awning motors, generators. These are mechanical systems, and mechanical systems fail. Set aside $2,000 to $3,000 a year in a dedicated maintenance fund, and if you're not spending it, count yourself lucky. Don't assume you dodged the bullet permanently. Add it up, and a free retirement lifestyle on a paid-off $60,000 RV can easily run $8,000 to $12,000 a year in true cost of ownership, before fuel, before food, before anything else. That's not a reason to avoid RV life. It's a reason to build the real spreadsheet before you build the dream. And while you're building it, pay attention to what you're paying going in, because that number sets the tone for everyone after it. The RV market spent years wildly distorted by pandemic-era demand, with used rigs selling for near-new prices because inventory was thin and buyers were panicked. That era's over, but plenty of retirees still shop like it isn't, grabbing the today-only discount at a show under pressure, without ever checking what comparable rigs are actually selling for. The smart move costs nothing but patience. Before you buy anything, spend a few weeks watching what similar rigs actually sell for, not what they're listed for. That gap is often 10 to 20%, and closing it before you sign is the cheapest line item on this entire spreadsheet. Once you've got the real total, purchase price, insurance, storage, campground fees, maintenance, sit with that number for 2 weeks before you sign anything. If it still works, you're already ahead of most of the people who buy on emotion at a show. Mistake number 3. Skipping the trial run. Here's a mistake so avoidable it's almost painful to talk about, and yet it's one of the most common reasons RVs get listed for sale within the first year. People go from zero RV experience straight to buying and living in one full-time without ever renting one first. Think about how strange that is in any other context. Nobody buys a house in a city they've never visited. Nobody proposes marriage on a first date. But retirees will regularly sell their home, buy a $40,000 rig, and drive off into full-time RV life, having never spent more than a weekend in one. The gap between a weekend camping trip and actual full-time living in an RV is enormous, and it only reveals itself once the excitement of the purchase wears off. A weekend trip is a vacation. Full-time RV life is grocery shopping in an unfamiliar town, finding a laundromat, dealing with a propane tank that runs out at 10 at night, figuring out where you're allowed to dump your holding tanks, and doing all of that while also managing a marriage in 300 square feet. The retirees who avoid regret almost universally do the same thing before they buy. They rent. A 1 to 2 week rental of the actual class and floor plan they're considering, ideally including some real driving or towing, tells you more about whether this lifestyle fits your life than every RV show and every YouTube video combined. It costs somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. Compare that to the $20,000 or $30,000 loss retirees eat when they sell a barely used rig after a bad first year, and the trial run is the cheapest insurance policy in this entire hobby. If a couple rents first and one of them hates towing, or hates the tight bathroom, or realizes they get carsick reading in a moving vehicle, they find that out for $2,000 instead of $40,000. That's the entire difference between the 70% and the 30%, right there in one decision made weeks before the purchase. Mistake number 4. Ignoring what your body will be doing in 5 years. This is the mistake almost nobody talks about because at 65, most retirees genuinely feel great. They're active, they're capable, and they don't want to think about limitations. But an RV is a physical lifestyle, and it stays a physical lifestyle for as long as you own it. Hooking up a fifth wheel means climbing, crouching, and cranking a hitch by hand. Leveling a trailer without automatic jacks means physically cranking stabilizers at each corner, in the rain, in the cold, at the end of a long driving day. Dumping tanks means kneeling at ground level to connect a hose. Class A motorhomes with basement storage require bending and lifting to access anything underneath. Even climbing in and out of a raised captain's chair dozens of times a day adds up in a way a 30-year-old test drive never reveals. None of this is a reason not to buy an RV. It's a reason to buy the right RV for where your body will realistically be in 5 to 10 years, not just where it is on the day you sign. That might mean prioritizing automatic leveling systems over manual ones, even though they cost more. It might mean choosing a lighter trailer that's easier to hitch, or a motorhome with a lower step height, or skipping the massive fifth wheel entirely in favor of something you can manage solo if your spouse is ever laid up with a bad knee or a hip replacement. The retirees who get this wrong aren't making a lifestyle mistake in year 1. They're making a mistake that shows up in year 3 or 4, when the physical reality of the rig they bought at 65 starts fighting them at 70. And by then, the resale value has already dropped, and the easy fix of upgrading to something more manageable comes with another 5-figure loss attached. Now, before we get into the last mistake, and honestly the biggest one, if this channel has been useful to you so far, take 15 seconds and hit like, drop a comment telling me which of these 5 mistakes worries you the most, and if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe and tap that notification bell. We publish videos exactly like this one every week, and the algorithm only shows this channel to more people who need it if you engage right now. All right, mistake number 5, the one nobody in this industry will say out loud. Mistake number 5, the relationship that was already quietly strained. In a house, a struggling relationship has room to breathe. Different rooms, different schedules, the ability to close a door and cool off without either person having to explain it or apologize for needing it. An RV removes every one of those pressure valves at once. 300 square feet doesn't create new problems in a marriage. It reveals every problem that was already there and makes it impossible to look away from. The couple who stopped really talking years ago, who'd settled into a comfortable rhythm of separate hobbies and separate friend groups inside a big house, suddenly has nowhere to be separate. No dealer brochure warns you about this, and no manufacturer has any financial interest in whether your marriage survives the first winter on the road, because none of them profit either way. Diane sold the house, packed the RV, and told her friends she was finally free. 4 months later, she was on a plane home, and the RV sat outside a storage facility for 3 weeks before her husband Roger could even bring himself to deal with selling it. The rig wasn't the problem. It never is. The rig just removed 30 years of quiet distance that a 4-bedroom house had been absorbing without either of them ever noticing. The fix cost nothing but honesty, and it's the same fix as mistake 3. Do the trial run, and while you're on it, actually pay attention to how the two of you handle close quarters, not just whether you like the floor plan. If 2 weeks in a rental feels tense, that's not a reason to buy a bigger rig. That's information about a conversation you need to have before you buy anything at all. So here's the question I want you to actually sit with and answer honestly in the comments below. Of those 5 mistakes, which one hits closest to home for you right now? Is it the cost spreadsheet you haven't built yet? The trial run you keep telling yourself you don't need? Or the conversation with your spouse you've been quietly avoiding? Whatever it is, say it out loud in the comments. I read every single one, and I promise you, whatever you're worried about, someone else in this community has already lived through it and is happy to tell you exactly how it went. If this video gave you something today, a question you hadn't thought to ask, a number you hadn't run, a conversation you know you need to have, do me a favor and hit that like button, drop a comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. This channel is built around exactly this kind of honest, no-nonsense look at American vehicles and the real cost of owning them. Not the showroom version, the real one, every single week. And if you want to go deeper on getting this decision right, check out the video on your screen right now because it picks up exactly where this one leaves off. We'll see you there.